This feature, The Future of Work, is funded by the News Reporting Scheme.
Welcome to this week's episode of The Future of Work on Clare FM. Government, health, education and other public sector roles play an invaluable part in providing employment, essential services and long-term stability in rural areas. Access to good quality public services is essential to encourage people to remain in or return to rural villages and communities. Continued investment in public transport, healthcare, housing and education all contribute to supporting a good quality of life in these areas. This hasn't always been the case, however. We've seen communities stripped of essential services and facilities which force younger people in particular out of their own areas. Tom Prendeville spent over 3 decades working as a public representative in Kilrush and served as mayor of the town on several occasions. He is also a retired schoolteacher, and while he enjoys meeting his past pupils, many of them had to leave West Clare to find work. This has been an issue in many rural areas of the county for decades.
That is the huge problem that we have, is that if you look back over the years in Kilrush, we've had some fantastic entrepreneurs, even the Vandeleur landlord, who kind of goes between a villain and a hero. But you had some great people, like you had, we'll say, the Glyns, you had the Ryans, you had the Flahertys, you had the Dohertys, you had the Sherdons. In the modern day, you have the likes of, say, Joe Whelan. So, we're looking for people of enterprise. Hopefully, we're saying that we don't want to sort of export them in the sense that they'll finish up someplace else. You had these people who had a great vision for the town. Unfortunately, I suppose, maybe with the depression of the 30s and particularly the war years, 40s, a lot of people moved to England. And especially post-war, we'll say 1939, 1945 war, a lot of them followed construction opportunities in England and never came back. Now you had immigrants' remittances and things like that, but the town often lost its most enterprising people. And I suppose, Pat, in a small way we can look at the little communities that are scattered all over West Clare. I was involved with football all my life. I was part of the famous 5-in-a-row Shamrocks team, as a player and as a manager. And I see a lot of teams struggling now to get 15 players together. And that's a sort of indicative of what's happening in all the different areas, whether you go to Kilkee or Kilmahel or Codaclare and you move out towards Kildysart. All those areas have a problem in fielding teams because of population decline. Now, we've been talking about population decline for a long time. We've been talking about disadvantage. There's urban disadvantage, there's rural disadvantage, there's social disadvantage, there's financial disadvantage, there's so many different educational disadvantages as well. Because if you want to send your child to college, it's going to cost a lot of money if you're sending them from Clare. And if you're located in Limerick or Galway or Cork, then the cost is halved straight away. So what we're looking at in today's society, we're looking at depopulation. The government brought out a scheme a couple of years ago. They were talking about decentralisation. Now, we were looking, Kilrush, with decentralisation. We got part of the Department of Revenue to locate back in Kilrush. And that is tremendous because we have, you have 40 or 50 people inside there living in the Kilrush area. They might be in Kilmahel, they might be in Codaclare, they might be in Doonbeg, they might be in Kilkee. But they're all contributing together to the local economy in their own areas. They've built houses. Sometimes when I look around me, and I prided myself one time, Pat, in knowing everybody that lived within 12 miles of Kilrush. I knew everybody. But in recent years, and I'm saying over the past 10, 15 years, we've had an influx of immigrants from places like Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, and they've all settled in the area, in the West Clare area. And that's been great. In actual fact, I think we have something like 100 people from India living in the Kilrush area as well too, and we welcome those with open arms. So that they've all made their little contributions. But as a teacher, when I would see the children of these migrants going on to secondary school and excelling at secondary school level, then I'd say they've got to go to college, a big expense going to college. And then when college is finished and they've done well and they've got their degrees and their diplomas, then they have to seek a job in the greater urban areas like Limerick, like Galway, like Dublin, like Cork. And they're a loss to the local community. And that, to me, sums up exactly what we're talking about. How an area like West Clare could lose its most enterprising people. And I think that we have been very fortunate in that we have an enterprise agency like Clare County Council, who were extremely good when the town council was there in Kilrush and in Kilkee. They were extremely benevolent and they were able to see things. But if you were to ask me what is something that we should be tackling, I'd be saying to the 6 or 7 directorates in Clare County Council, I'd say we have to look towards employment opportunities. And where are those employment opportunities where they're local, artisan, endemic trades, or whether they're maybe bringing somebody in to create maybe 400, 500, 600 jobs so that there's a future there. There's great success stories in West Clare and it's the quality of life here. You look out, you have the Shannon River right there in front of your door. You have the local golf clubs that are struggling to survive at the moment through lack of population. So that we have all those amenities there, and what we want to do is we want to develop those and we want to create jobs for people that will sustain them. Sustainable development is important, but at the same time, I suppose overall from our perspective, when we look into the future, the one thing that we want is environment protection. You know, we want to hold on to what we have. We are on the periphery of the Atlantic. We live in a beautiful place. We have good quality air. We have the ozone from the ocean. So that everything that you would want is there. But I worry when I look, we'll say, towards places like Kilkee, and I see where holiday homes are there and the locals, the guys and the girls that are struggling to get their teams together because of depopulation. And that's sad. So we need something to address that. Maybe the government, in their wisdom, might look towards that and say, well, okay, if we can keep people working at home, if they can work from home, that's number one. If we can create jobs, if we can provide infrastructure by way of telecommunications, if we can improve the road network from here to Innis to link up with that. Local enterprise, I think, is very, very important. As I said to you before, and I'll say it again, you know, the most important thing that we have in this area is our people. And I look towards the likes of Doonbeg. I have the greatest admiration for the community in Doonbeg. They are fantastic. And there's a lot of great people like that located in all the different areas of West Clare. But they need a leg up. They need to be grant-aided. They need to be recognised. And if that happened, I think there's a great chance that people would be flocking to locate in West Clare. And that would give us the boom we needed.
30 years in the local authority, Kilrush Town Council, Clare County Council, former Mayor of Kilrush as well. Do you think that Kilrush has lost out by that decision to remove the local council, the local authority? Oh, no doubt about it. I think it was the greatest mistake that was ever made. There was 9 councillors were elected from different areas of the town. So they were on the ground, they knew exactly what the issues were. Whether that was lack of services, lack of housing, whether people weren't getting what their dues were from the different government agencies and things like that. So that you had people on the ground. When they decided to take that away, so then people would still phone me up and they'd say to me, is the town council gone? And I'd say, yes, it's gone. Where do I go now? And I said, well, you can go to your local councillor. But the next stop would be the citizens' information. And they do a good job as well. But I think the council was the heartbeat of the Kilrush community. And the same applied in Kilkee. It was a small council in Kilkee, but again, the local councillors, they were on the ground. They knew what was happening. So I would be saying, bring back the town councils. In my opinion, the town councils, that is the first thing that should be brought back. They have them in Germany, they have them in France, they have them in England. Only last week, we had the council elections in Wales and in England. Scotland the weekend before. So why not bring them back here in Ireland? I think it's needed. It needs to be done and done quickly. Were there services and jobs lost as a result of the removal of the local authority?
There was, yes, I would say that some people had to be moved from, we'll say, we have the town hall, which was built by the Vandalors, gone back all those 200 years ago. all the staff were located there. Some of them had to be relocated, maybe brought back into Ennis. It was a backward step, Pat, if you're asking me that. It was a backward step. And I think that needs to be looked at again. And the sooner the better.
Public sector jobs generally, though, Tom, you worked as a teacher, you also worked in the local authority as a public representative. How important are public sector roles to a community or to a wider area like West Clare?
Of course they are, because what you find in general is teachers, by their own nature, are in there to help people. I always say this, one of the jobs that I'm tasked with now at the moment is maybe the odd day collecting my grandchildren from school. And I have, whatever it is about the laughter of children, when you hear it, you say to yourself, isn't that fantastic? Maybe it brings you back to 10, 15, 20 years ago. But it shows you that this is a hub of activity that's alive and well. And you're seeing everything as it should be. You have teachers taking care of children. You have children responding. So you have the creation of all these jobs. We have SNAs. We have all these support services for teachers. The biggest worry that I have is, and I think, Pat, that you have nailed it when you asked that question, is the small school in West Clare is being threatened. And when you drive along now, you'll see all these signs up, enrolments taking place in September for such and such a school, because they're fighting hard to keep the personnel that they have. And the personnel that they have usually are very involved in the local community, whether that's football or whether it is drama or whether it is concerts, or no matter what it is, maybe they're living locally, they have children going to school. So they have staked their future in the local area because of their job. And if that job is gone, then we're looking at the loss of somebody who was the dynamic force within that community. And if you look at any of the areas around West Clare, where I'm talking particularly again about Doonbeg again, and you'll find that a lot of teachers are involved because they want to give back something, because they see that if you enrich the community, that it comes back 1,000 times.
You mentioned the word hub there, Tom, but you mentioned it in the context of a school and teaching. Other hubs, digital hubs, they have been
yes.
A lifesaver for some communities.
They have, indeed. And there's a person that I admire so much, and he has just retired from Clare County Council now, Urban McMahon. And he was involved with the communication system over there, and he put hubs into different areas. He put them into Kilrush, he put it into Kilkee, he put it into Innistimon, so that you have top class Wi-Fi, broadband communication systems available within those hubs. And that is so important, because that takes out this word of peripherality. The word peripherality means, we used to call it in Irish, magord. In other words, you're out there in the sticks. But now with the improvement in technologies and communication systems, you can live out in an island in the Atlantic, and you can still be in touch with what's happening in New York, down in Manhattan. So the hubs have played a big part in that they were able to provide these satellite systems and communication systems, and it helped. It certainly, they have helped what I refer to as peripheral areas like West Clare. The whole secret, I think, is quality of life. And if you won't live on quality of life. You need a job. But if you have to have a quality of life, then you will settle in West Clare. Then you will support the community in West Clare, whether that be the schools, the shops, the services. I mean, people should be saying to themselves the whole time, I'm not going to move outside West Clare. I'm going to support West Clare 100%. You know, no matter who comes in. For instance, we'll say we have the Irish Open on in Doonbeg in September, and we welcome 100% the influx of people who want to attend that. Forget about, we'll say, the political side of things. As far as we're concerned, this is a boon for West Clare. And then we have the Walker Cup above in Lahinch, which will be happening as well this year. So anybody who's prepared to come in here, it's a recognition of the facilities, the fine facilities that we have. but probably underutilised because of lack of population. We have to look at ourselves and we have to say, what have we got that everybody wants? And we can see that in Kilkee, where holiday homes have been built maybe without thinking about what the local population wanted. So we have to strike some sort of a balance, and that's important.
That was former public representative, Mayor of Kilrush and retired school teacher Tom Prendeville. We'll be back next week with another episode of The Future of Work.
This feature, The Future of Work, is funded by the News Reporting Scheme.